side. So that first pick is something that has been up in the air a lot. A lot of different heroes have actually been filling that very first pick slot. We've seen it be the Lyra, we've seen it be the Tony, we've seen it be Kroll, we've seen it be Celeste. Like, there's a lot of different options for these teams, but it all depends on what they actually take off the board. And we're getting to that first pick now. It is going to be the Lyra because of Kroll and Churnwalker being the bans.
Churnwalker, an interesting one. Not a very hotly contested pick. Definitely not in Europe. Maybe it's a comfort pick that one of the guys on Wolves is very comfortable with, and that's why Queso took it out. Or could be a throwaway ban to set Queso up to get one of the power picks.
I was going to say, not even so much a throwaway ban. It's also just a ban to the captain. We've seen a lot of these teams start to take other captains into the lanes and try and play them as more carries or even just another utility captain. And if you do that, you ban away a captain, you first pick a captain. If your opponents don't pick a captain in this rotation, you can get another 1 or 2 captains taken off the board and really limit the options of your opponents.
Absolutely. Wolves definitely gonna have to make some interesting decisions here. If I'm on the side of Queso, my thought process would be, okay, 2 captains already off the board. If Wolves takes another one, which they did with this Tony right here, they're either going to get Samuel or Celeste. I'm assuming they're going to take Samuel. They've also shown to be very comfortable on Varia as well. Actually going to go for the Alpha. Definitely a pick that we saw banned quite a bit in Europe yesterday.
Alpha has been making her presence felt on the rise. Still a little surprised to see it this early in the draft because of what is still available. But obviously, you mentioned the Samuel that could get banned away here by Wolves. I would expect Wolves to want to ban it away, but there are still other options for the mid lane. You can still pick up the Scarf. We've seen Adagio in mid. There's the Varia is available as well, so they'll still have plenty of choices for their mid laner if they don't get that Samuel, but Samuel has definitely been one of the premier picks right after the Celeste.
Absolutely, yeah, and Wolves taking away that Reza, making sure that they keep their Celeste as safe as possible. Reza's so good at diving onto that backline. Queso answering, that's a bit of an interesting ban, taking the Taka out of the equation as well, making sure that if they go for these mages with Lyra and the ability that Lyra enables her team to be able to just kite without those dive heroes in the mix anymore, that should set them up for some very backline. But Wolves going with this Samuel, Queso needs to find a little bit of a range in their composition.
Yeah, a little bit of range. I mean, the Taka ban, I think it makes a little bit of sense to me just because you already have the Alpha. Alpha and Taka fill very similar roles in 5v5 with kind of being bruiser-ish assassins in a sense and having the ability to dive onto the backline. So they got one of those heroes. They said, you know what, we're going to be the only one allowed to have a hero like that. So that's why they ban away the Taka, but then I love Wolves' answer by grabbing the Samuel because Taka does very well into the Samuel. So you're taking what you just had one of the Samuel's counters taken away. Why not grab him for your team?
Queso picking up the Catherine too, though. This is a little bit different style of drafting we've seen on Team Queso. Maybe they're just having a little bit of fun today. Taking the Scarf, I like that a lot. Definitely going to give them that ranged, not necessarily advantage, but at least be able to combat the Celeste and the Samuel that Wolves now has. Catherine going to be in the front line with that Alpha, able to tank up a lot of that damage, making sure that giving them some crowd control. Wolves already has a ton in the slows and the stuns, the taunts, bada booms, whatever it might be. So I like that a lot.
The other thing about the Catherine is, there's a lot of damage that it's AoE damage. It's not damage that you can choose your target. And so Catherine can just stand in the middle of all that with a Storm Guard up and just spread damage out to the entire enemy team. Body blocking Samuel, Malice, and Verdix, standing on top of the Helios, Genesis as they come down. That's damage that, Wolves cannot choose not to put out onto the Catherine. That's entirely up to Team Queso of will Catherine be taking that damage and getting the reflection out.
Wolves picking up that Black Feather, another great pick for their composition. Now they have a little bit of dive, so if they take another range here on the side of Queso, they're going to have to watch out for that Black Feather. He's going to be able to use that Rose Offensive to get through the Bright Bulwarks, whatever it might be, to get onto those backline carries. Grumpjaw coming off the board as well. Didn't see him played at all yesterday, I don't think.
He's been banned a lot.
But yeah, he has been banned a lot. The amount of burst damage when he comes through, just definitely something that they just don't want to have to deal with.
He has that early game strength of having a ton of burst damage, and then once you get to the late game, obviously his damage falls off, but you have that utility of just throwing out those stuffs all the time and just taking someone out of a fight. So Grumpjaw is exceptionally strong in 5v5. That's why we've been seeing it banned so many times.
Absolutely. So Queso, they have a lot of different things that they can potentially do with this draft. They could add some more range to it to play a little bit further in the backline. They could go with another melee dive bruiser hero, just getting on top of the Celeste, getting on top of the Samuel. It's going to be interesting to see what they decide to go with.
I would really like to see either Idris or Sky. It's actually going to be a Ringo. This is not something that we have seen very much on 5v5. Ringo's kind of like old faithful in Vainglory. You know, he's always seems to be having a place in a meta. Like, he's never the premier hero, but he's always at least a solid constant. He's never like behind the meta. So it'll be interesting to see. Likely going to end up on Hundor. He's been the one who's playing that bottom lane carry the most for this team. So it's not really a hero that he's well known for, but he's been playing a lot of heroes that he hasn't really been super well known for thus far.
Not a lot of protection for Ringo in order for him to get onto those backline carries that are going to have so much range. I mean, he's going to have a Lyra and a Catherine. That's basically it. If Alpha is not on top of those backline mages, he's not going to have a lot in between him and the enemy heroes.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if he's going to go for the weapon route or perhaps a Crystal Ringo. I'm not a fan of Crystal Ringo on 5v5. I started to become a believer of it on 3v3, but on 5v5, I just don't think it really does quite enough of an impact versus the weapon power route.
Now that the picks are set, gentlemen, who do you think the players to watch are? Tasty, let's start with you.
I mean, largely as a result of this Ringo pick, I'm going to be keeping my eye on Hundor. He has been absolutely phenomenal for Team Queso throughout their first couple of weeks. I mentioned his Idris and his Sky play. He has been just getting so many kills for the squad, making these plays, diving in deep, taking 1v1s and 1v2s, and coming out on top consistently. He just always seems to have a large lead no matter who he's up against.
Yeah, Hundor definitely going to be looking strong. On the flip side of the coin, I'm looking forward to Simi on the side of Wolves Esports. I think the team was definitely on his back yesterday. Unfortunately, they did end up falling, but a lot of the signs of life definitely came out of the mechanics that he had on this Samuel. His positioning the entire time was absolutely phenomenal. His mouse and vertex were on point. He was making sure he was staying in the back line of these fights, dishing out as much damage as possible, and definitely a huge factor is why their game was as close with Salty Potatoes as it was.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see if he's going to be on the Samuel today or if he's going to be taking the Celeste, because they have both of those great mid lane heroes available for him. So it's definitely going to be up in the air. We'll see which one he's going to choose to take. I would expect the Celeste.
Yeah, I would agree with you.
So Team Queso has one of the strongest rosters right now, but they struggled a little bit in the beginning of the year against Clash. Do you put any stock in that, or is it just because it's preseason?
I think it's just it's preseason. It was the first game. Clash came out surprising everyone with how aggressive they played, but it's also the fact that, you know, these are the top two teams, arguably right now on paper. Salty Potatoes in that discussion as well, so I don't really put too much stock in one game, though.
All right, the game is on. Let's go to Stress, Cass, and Dowsy.
Thanks very much, Erica. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the European VPL Preseason Invitational Clash. Team Queso, in fact, versus Wolves here. We were just talking about Clash, who took an early win over Team Queso at the beginning of the season, when most people, I think, were thinking that Team Queso would be the dominant team in the EU.
Yeah, when you look at the history of the lineup as well, everybody kind of suspected they would do very well. Now, this is actually a bit of an interesting change from what we saw yesterday and then the previous week. We are seeing the invades onto the Crystal Tree, but it's delayed. It's actually as the minions have already arrived into the lane. Bit of a change up here, obviously less risk involved with this. A 4-person invade, some of the lanes have already split up, and you can see now Queso trying to chase out some of the Wolves lineup here, trying to delay some of that secondary stealing while they're doing exactly the same on the bottom side. Queso trying to take control 2 sections of the jungle.
Now, I actually really like Wolf's response to this. They had that scout cam up towards the Crystal buff, which meant that they could go for the mirror invade, but they sent the Propika to the lane so that he could push up and actually get gold on the flip side, whereas really, Queso haven't been able to do the same thing. So gold comes out, very small advantage to Wolves, and that's kind of that analytical thinking that Kigaza really brings to the team, is recognizing how a team plays their game. When he was with Fnatic, he really tried to play the opponent rather than just play, you know, a set game. But throwing it over to the mid lane, we've got Techno JJ on one of his best heroes in the game, Scarf, up against Simi, who kind of had a rough start yesterday. What do you think of this matchup?
This matchup, of course, we've seen how good Celeste is able to push Scarf picked in response to it, be able to actually maintain some of that mid lane pressure. I'm looking at this game in general, and there's just so much AoE from both sides. You've got the Scarf ultimate, you've got Celeste in team fights, you've got Samuel that's going to come through as well. So, you know, if any one of these carries can actually pick up much of a lead early on, these team fights could be over super quickly if people don't have reflex blocks up. That's where my eyes are going to be.
Well, we're seeing a bit of aggression up in the top lane. Palmatoro playing this carry Catherine, and Wolves trying to pressure down. You have to remember, before 4 minutes, these turrets do have extra defenses. PRZ potentially caught, but that Lyra is so speedy, and we'll be able to walk away despite the taunt coming out of Queso. At the moment, Team Queso just roaming up into that bottom side jungle. We saw that all of yesterday. Hundor and Tyra is basically becoming a roaming force in the bot lane, always stealing away that jungle. The Papika, he tried to mirror, but it was too late. That jungle's gone, and now he's kind of forced to run to his turret whilst walking over scout camps.
And I think it's interesting the role that Paprika is going to have in this game as well, because yesterday we saw him on the Taka. You know, now this is quite a different play style. Of course, he's going to be able to absorb a lot of this bottom lane pressure from this Ringo, but I want to then see how it evolves, because we had that Taka Idris lane yesterday that ended up being all kinds of crazy with the hybrid Idris. So again, another play we got to look out for is Paprika.
Yeah, for sure. Techno JJ trying to lay down the hurt. Simi completely out of position here. Can he escape is the question. That goop goes the wrong way, and it should be Simi okay for now. Tyra is going to take this opportunity to steal away the Crystal Treant, but Queso know this, so they are going to make sure that their Crystal Treant stays nice and safe. Palmatoro roaming down, the stun onto Simi. He's dead. First blood goes Techno JJ, and Cryfall's low as well. That's going to be another going over to Queso. Kigaza now running for his life on this Samuel, and Tyra's going to land that Prime Directive right onto him, slowing him down. Stun, dead. Kigaza's gone. It's 3-0 to Queso.
Easy one to line up there at the end, and Queso showing exactly why they're so strong in the early game, grouping effectively to deny against the invade on the crystal buff. And this is one of the real strengths that we're seeing, especially in such quick games, is the teams that have the more solid early game, macro play together as a unit, are going to be the teams that are picking up the win. These games are not going long enough that you can really outlast past 1 or 2 Ghost Wings. So a team like Wolves, that's where I want to see some of the more improvements, some of that analytical mind that you're talking about, Dowsy. That's where I want to see it focused for the rest of the preseason, because, you know, these are preseason games. This is the team starting to warm up. This is certainly an area that they can look at and say, hey, let's copy what Clash and Queso are doing. Let's see if we can improve that for ourselves.
Well, we do have those river shops spawning now, which is going to make dangerous times going down the river. This is where Queso can really rotate as a unit and try and catch Wolves out of position. Currently, Wolves just trying to bide their time, but yesterday we saw such quick gains out of Queso. In fact, all of their games this season have been so quick. And so you have to think that you have to be slightly more proactive here, Stress. You can't really just wait them out and hope to scale.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I like Wolves here with a shove into mid lane. Actually tries to hold Queso as well in that mid lane spot under tower. You can see there's a lot of action going on towards top lane. Black Feather goes in.
Yeah, it's going to be Black Feather looking for the dive. Palmatoro, though, very safe, and here comes Techno JJ to provide it. Team Queso want to turn this one. Taunt on to Techno JJ. Palmatoro just going to peel off using that stun. It looks like that's the fight diverted. Tyra's, though, still in the bot lane, still sitting around with Hundor here, and Hundor, he has been a star in Europe for so long. The fact that Techno JJ and Hundor are on the same team is incredible and really allows them to kind of stick to what they're good at. Techno JJ, that crystal power, and Hundor, that weapon power. Attempted a turret here. Asteroid, though, wow, the damage is real. The slows from PRZ. Doesn't look like they're going to be able to go any further here. Too much melee range from Palmatoro, though they do go back in. Just for now, watch out for Palmatoro's ultimate. It's Asteroid going on forward. Can Palmatoro get out? Can PRZ keep him alive? The seal! Ooh, just in the last second, keeping him alive, and Palmatoro will survive.
Oh, the back and forth bait by Asteroid here. Of course, like, he goes under the tower, takes a lot of damage. It looks to be the bait. Preseason under the tower again.
Yeah, this is not good stuff for Wolves. Look at what's happening on the other side of the map. Techno, JJ, Hundor, and Tyra is taking that Ghost Wing, and it's all just been a bait. Palmatoro is going to be able to go into the fight with the Ghost Wing buff. Here we go. There's the ult coming through. Palmatoro with the damage, but Asteroid's full health and just shown his face on that scout cam. and it's not going to be Queso happy to go for this one. But that Ghost Wing buff does mean that they can heal up fairly quickly. They will lose their turret for it, but looks like they're going for the reverse turret on the bot side here, Queso, making sure that they trade 1-for-1.
It actually ends up not too bad in that situation for Wolves in the fact that they get the tower there. Nobody died for it. Yes, obviously it's going to be the 1-for-1 trade. The Ghost Wing did go over to Queso, so overall still the benefit. But considering how treacherous that position was, Tyra's now in a similar spot on the bottom side.
Yeah, I don't think Wolves want to pursue this. Hundor and Tyras are potentially the strongest two members of Queso right now, though you have to look towards Techno JJ, who's completed his first tier 3 of that Spellfire and has almost 2,000 gold sitting in his inventory. Kigaza in trouble to Palmatoro. Techno JJ taking a bit of damage, but going to return it here to Asteroid. Boop goes the Spitfire for a 422, and Palmatoro will find that kill. Impressive stuff coming out of Queso.
Yeah, at this point you just have to be so aware of Techno JJ and somehow dodge every single skill shot he's putting out. It's going to be very difficult at this point because we haven't even really seen him come into a fight. Hasn't even skilled the ultimate at this point, going directly for that max range overdrive on the Q. Like at this point, Techno JJ is just doing serious damage.
And I really like this because I think that the ultimate on Scarf is actually a little bit too dangerous to use on the 5v5 map. You have to kind of put yourself in a bad position against 5 people. And when you think about the team comp that Wolves have here, they have massive range in the form of a Samuel and a Celeste as they group up in mid. Although they can't really pursue that due to the fact that, once again, Techno JJ is just destroying them with Spitfires. But they've also got massive re-engage. Oh dear. Looks like Queso are just going to turn this around. They don't care that it's a 2v3. They just want this and Hundor with a... Oh my goodness, that's going to be a bit of damage, not going to be too much. Palmatoro, Asteroid, top lane, in trouble. Is Roundor finding a kill in the mid lane, but I think Asteroid's looking for the one on Palmatoro. No, PRZ will save him. That's going to be turret going down in the mid lane. 5-0 here, and a cheeky 6,000 gold lead already for Queso.
Techno JJ is basically holding half of the gold lead for the team right now and already destroying the enemy. I mean, we're seeing just how much that experience advantage on top of the gold lead can just pile up. You've got a level 10 Ringo on one side, and the enemy, you know, you've got a level 6 Tony who's playing captain. That's going to be a very quick kill if anybody actually finds damage on that, despite the fact that you'd expect a Tony to be quite resilient when it's a 4-level disadvantage plus the item disparity between the two teams. Like, you know, Queso, it's still maybe not quite as quick as we've seen them play, but it's still a very impressive performance so far. Here goes Palmatoro.
Oh, my goodness.
Couldn't even pass it over to you and he's dead.
He was just completely out of position there, nowhere to be seen. And when you look at gold, you brought it up. You can see that Hundor has a 7.5 thousand to Paprika's 5.1. That's a 2,500 gold lead for him. Techno JJ has a pretty huge lead over Simi as well, just about 2,000 gold. So you got your two carries, a whole item ahead of their opponents, and that's just devastating to play against. Another Ghost Wing will come through from Team Queso. They're grouping up as 5 in the bot lane to take down this tier 2 turret, and Wolves are completely called out. 2 people backporting, 2 people top lane. Simi is in mid lane. This is going to be an armory push coming out of Queso.
Yeah, and I want to really highlight, if I have a moment, just that it was the fact that Queso pushed out. I don't have the time.
No, it's going to be bada bing, bada boom. Wolves want to engage under the turret, and Tyras will take a lot of hurt for it. Here comes that huge Spellfire, Hellfire Brew just to burst everyone with some AoE. And Queso could just re-engage any second here. Good Crucible comes through from PRZ to block up that Oblivion. This turret is going down. Whether Wolves like it or not, it's just a matter of time. The minion wave will be arriving in about 10 seconds.
Yeah, they have the regeneration as well from the Lyra. They've got the Ghostwing buff still active, so that, when they're out of combat, is going to be helping them too. Like, this is just such a sustained push. And there's not a whole lot the Wolves can do without a full-on fight, but they're so far behind that they're just getting poked down, chunked down again and again behind this tower, and it's short to fall.
Boom! Tyras takes out Kigaza and the turret as well. That's going to be him rebooting. Simi's in trouble. Look at the damage. Hundor with the block in the middle of the team fight, but he doesn't care. He's just going to kill them all. Asteroid trying to find the work, but he pops down. It's going to be Tony jumping in to his death, and that is 4 members of Wolves dead. Team Queso with the 12-minute victory. The Vein Crystal will fall. They've done it so cleanly. Stress.
They've done it so cleanly. It might be spring Dazzy, but there is always a forecast of a snowball when Queso are on the map. This is just impressive. 10-0. 0 kills, 1 tower did fall, and that was the only thing that Wolves actually picked up that entire game.
It's an incredible story, really, for Team Queso here. Up against Wolves, who have had a bit of trouble so far, losing out to Clash, losing out to Salty Potatoes, and now to Team Queso as well. They've kind of popped themselves as a 4th place team here in Europe, but plenty of time to work on that stress, which is really important. Either way, Queso once more securing their places here in EU, and let's find out what the desk makes of that.